Hey everybody, welcome. This is for you. I
These
can't
are for
even
you
say
to
what
say.
letters we are. We need a real name again. This
And
is
I'm the one drinking
4GQ
rum.
TV,
Go
and
ahead.
he's the one drinking rum. Our guest, Steve Barton, producer and also actor. And if you want to call him that, most of his roles are uncredited because nobody wants to claim him. No, I mean,
Not a single person, not even Romero wanted to claim me, but he
Hmm.
had no choice.
and we're here with Carlo. And I don't, and you know what's funny is I don't even know your real first name. No, I don't. We've done the convention and stuff, but you want me to call you
Awkward.
Megalodon or Death Dealer? I mean, when
You can
I
call
call
me
you
Death for short.
Death, I
Yeah,
call you
Death. I'll
call you
answer to
Meg.
Death.
If I call you Meg, I can start with "Shut up, Meg." You know,
Oh
like,
God, I hate that name, Meg. No, please don't.
anyway, yes, you can tell we're a very structured interview here, Steve.
When Paul's hosting for sure.
Hey, you've
Super
got to have some
serious.
fun, right? We're gonna have fun. It's all
Hmm.
about fun.
Yes,
So there
sir.
you go. So, Steve, as everybody may or may not know, Steve is were you the executive producer of Terrifier 2?
Yes, one of the executive producers on
The
Terrifier 2.
surprise hit, which I'm sure surprised you guys how well it did.
Yeah, you want to talk about surprises? Yeah, that was a big surprise. None of us expected that to happen, really. It was one of those wonderful things that just kind of happened out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was cool for me. I was, I wanted to see it. I couldn't go to I have trouble going to theater to see movies because of my disability and stuff.
I have
And
trouble
then,
going to the theaters because of my hatred for everyone. So yeah.
well, that works too. But then I saw, it released and it got rave reviews and it kept getting extended. Okay, we're going to be here this weekend and next weekend and the next weekend.
Yeah.
And for a horror movie, that was just amazing. We
Well,
haven't seen anything like that in a long time.
yeah, well, neither have we. Truth be told, we had never had any idea how long we were going to get a theatrical run for. We were told 2 days, and then we did our some theaters it was 3 days, and we did our Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and something incredible happened. Everybody showed up, and everybody wanted to see it, and we were like, holy Jesus, really? There are people that really want to see this to this extent? That's amazing. And it wasn't till the following Monday each week when we found out if we were getting extended or not. So we were on the ride just like everybody else. And it was an amazing time. It was something, it was like a once in a lifetime thing, like I'll never forget.
Yeah, that was. I mean, yeah, it had to be special because I was, you guys kept retweeting and I was retweeting your stuff, and I was amazed that I'd seen the original Terrifier and I'd seen the movie that Art got started in as well before that,
Mm-hmm.
and it just to me it's just such an incredibly to me it's a fun character.
Thank
Just
you.
his general attitude is just so much fun.
That's
Yeah,
all Damien Leone. Damien Leone is a fucking genius, and I don't
yeah,
use that
really.
term lightly at all, and I never use that term really. But he's one of those special filmmakers that come around every several years, and we're thankful that he's here, and I'm especially thankful that he's here. But what was really cool about the release of Terrifier 2 was we knew we made a good movie. We made a movie for the people who liked the first one, you know, and that was our thing. We wanted fans of the first one to have something cool to really dig into. And everybody gave us something really special with the first movie, with how much they championed it. And the general consensus among everyone who made Terrifier 2 is we wanted to give you all something special back. So we tried to make the best movie humanly possible, and I think we did it to the best of our ability. Um, but make no mistake, even though we made a good movie, if it wasn't for people like you retweeting and just anyone who did anything, whether it be going to see the movie or just you know championing it in any way on social media or whatever, it was all because of you that this film was as successful as it was. So I am we all are very humbled and very in debt to every one of the fans
Well,
for
this is
helping
this is
us
going to
make
come across
something.
as really gushy, but Ter- uh, Terrifier 2 came at a time where I wasn't having a great time, and this movie came out. And from the first scene in the laundromat, it set the tone, and I was all in. And I was like, I needed this right now because it made me laugh and it made me go, oh, wow. And I just needed that kind of release. You know,
Yeah.
that's still one of my favorite scenes to go back and watch. The rest of the movie is great, but I love that opening sequence.
Well,
You know,
that's one of the things that make that kind of sets art apart. Hey, hang on one second. Hey, Danny, I'm talking to my girl because this is as
yeah.
professional as it gets. Can you shut the window here so we don't hear the train going by every 5 seconds? Thank you. So I see I'm getting all sorts of professional for you guys. I'm having windows shut. I grabbed my mic. I grabbed the headset. I did all that shit. I got the good rum. So thank you for that. There's been a lot of amazing stories along the way. One of the most amazing stories to us is one of the people who really wrote to us and reached out to us during the height of what was going on. And holy shit, was there so much going on. But there was this one girl who, her and her dad, they went to go see Terrifier, and it was the last thing they did together because he had stage 4 cancer.
Oh,
And that touched us on a level we can't even really illustrate into words. I mean, it makes me so happy, and the team so grateful when we hear stories like that and stories like yours. And now you could hear my dog drinking water as loud as humanly possible. Danny, can you shut the dog? So it's just been, this whole ride has been so incredible. And again, we're so humbled by all of you. We were on this ride, man. I always say it, we were on this ride together. Like when we were learning stuff, you guys were learning stuff at the same time. We never learned anything before anyone else. It was rather amazing and completely unorthodox. But if you think about it, everything about this movie was unorthodox. You have a 2.5 hour slasher movie, which a lot of the fan base before the movie even came out just was like, oh, that's heresy. How could it be a 2.5 hour slasher movie? And then we were like, well, it's a 2.5 hour slasher movie.
Yeah, that's right.
And then and then there was all the violence, and there's so much fucked up stuff in this movie that when we went to, it's funny too, like when Cinedigm, who were absolute champions in terms of this distributing this movie, them and Bloody Disgusting were just amazing. But usually when an indie filmmaker, they get the news that their movie is going theatrical, they get excited. And we were more or less confused. I was like, really? Have you seen this movie? This is what you want to put in the theater? And they did, and it turned into like this fucking phenomenon, for like lack of a better
I gotta
term.
say, I had hoped that I was going to be able to go to a showing because I wanted one of the barf bags just to have.
We sell them on the website now, so you can
Hey,
still get one.
I'll have to go. I'll have to check that out. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, we have 4 different designs,
oh, that's great.
so you could puke on yourself in style, man.
There you go. Yeah.
We
Yeah,
sell
there
them
you
at
go.
the conventions too. If you want it filled, it's an extra like $15 because you'll have our
Yeah.
DNA, and that's weird.
15 bucks for a barf bag. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if you want it filled,
Yeah.
with,
Don't
whatever
give the
we ate for
airline,
lunch.
but don't give the airline to the idea. So you're gonna
No.
puke here. It's 15 bucks right there.
I know, no, we don't want to do that. We don't want anyone to do that.
No.
Well, I just, I gotta say, everybody in this panel here is huge horror fans. I'm more the outcast. Last horror movie I think I watched was Puppet Master, and that's like not even real horror. But I looked at the Rotten Tomatoes score, and I gotta congratulate you, man, for this type of movie and being well received by critics and the audience. That's just amazing. That tells you that what you've done has made something artistic in there.
There's very much a time where we feel like we're just going to wake up, and all of this will have been some sort of weird dream. It was the perfect storm. People liked it, the audience liked it, my dog liked it, my bird still likes it, and it was something we'll never forget. It was like one of those strange moments in time, man, that you can never ever experience again.
Well,
And
and it helped that you, Damien, and Elliot are all very active on
yes,
social media as well.
yeah.
So I mean, so it helped kind of get that thing rolling when you guys are actively responding to the tweets and you guys are acknowledging that us, the viewers, are out there just having a hell of a time, you know.
Well,
And
we remain cognizant that this did not happen if it wasn't for you guys. So if you look, we're still, in terms of every film that you've ever seen on social media, the filmmakers, we're still probably the most engaged and the most thankful for all the fans. We always respond. We never let anyone hanging, and that's
right.
very important to us. It's we don't have a life if it wasn't for you guys. We don't exist.
You know,
So
we recently interviewed Harrison Smith, who's also active on social media, and
mhm,
how I got a hold of him, and Aaron B. Kuntz as well from the Scare.
great guys.
So
Great,
yeah,
great guys.
we've interviewed both of them, and they are both very active on social media as well.
Mhm,
And to me, that, like I said, I appreciate that because you don't see yourself above or separated from the fan base, and you
never.
respond to us. You know, even if it's I don't have time right now, but if it ever comes up,
You
and
know,
I appreciate that. And
at, you're welcome. At the end of the day, we started doing this because we were fans of it, you
yeah,
know. And if there's one thing you can say about Terrifier 2, when you watch it, or even the first Terrifier, you could tell that fans of the genre made these movies,
yeah,
you know? And I think I think it's pretty fucking clear in every single frame that we loved what we were doing and we loved these type of movies, and we were so thankful to have a chance to just make a movie that we
yep.
liked. We made the movie we wanted to see. There was no studio interference because no studio would ever come near us. There was nobody, offering opinions that didn't know what the fuck they were doing. It was just, I mean, like 9 people made Terrifier 2. You look at the end credits of any Hollywood movie, and there's hundreds of people, and rightly so. It's very difficult to make a movie, but there was 9 of us.
Yeah.
And this is what happened. And I think, everyone's talking about part 3, which Damien is writing now. I think that these particular films aren't really conducive for a large budget. I think you'll lose some of the magic of these movies. There's very much an alchemy to making a Terrifier movie, and the team knows what they're doing, and we just got to trust each other. And that's all we did with the first one, was just trust each other. And it was a great time.
So you talked about you got started because you were a fan. So let's go into that a little bit of where did Steve come from? How did Steve get involved in producing these kind of
Oh
movies and
God.
things like
Now
that?
you're going back. Because I'm older than shit. I'm pushing 51. So
I'm older than you, so there you
well,
go.
good. Now I feel like a spring chicken. That's awesome.
There you
So
go.
way back, there was one thing that's so apparent about me is I may be 50, but I am like 4 years old all the time. And the girl I was with at that time, 30 something years ago almost, she knew that I was an idiot that would sit there and I like toys, man. So she got me this roaring Jurassic Park cage that was essentially a hunk of empty cardboard that you'd press a button and it would go rawr, right? And I pressed that fucking button ad nauseum. So, so she got it off of eBay, and the person who was selling it ended up being my neighbor. They lived down the street from me, and he called me. He was like, "It doesn't really make sense for me to mail this to you. How about you just come outside and I'll bring it down the block?" And I'm like, "Sure." And it ended up being Tony Timpone from Fangoria magazine.
Oh,
Ooh,
And
nice.
he walks up the block, and I'm like, "Hey, you're Tony." And he's like, "Well, yeah, hey, how are you?" Blah blah. Tony. So he took a chance on me, and he realized relatively quickly that I knew my shit. And he gave me a job working for Fangoria. It was unpaid, but it was still, now I'm associated with Fangoria, so geek erection forever. And yeah, man, within a year, I'm a little bit personable, as you could tell. People kind of like me. I don't know why.
I don't know
But
either. I'm trying to figure it out, but
but it didn't take long for people to start knowing who I was. I started writing under the name Uncle Creepy, name which I've kept. And had I have known the connotations of the name Uncle Creepy 30 years ago, I may have been corrected. But truth be told, Uncle Creepy was like the Crypt Keeper, a host of a favorite magazine of mine called Creepy Magazine that I read while growing up. So to me, taking that pen name was sort of like my homage to it. I did not know I would get saddled with it for the rest of my life, but it's brought me nothing but great things. So I worked for Fangoria, and then this other company came along called the Horror Channel, who I hate saying their name because I hate them. And every time I mention their name, if I do it too many times, they show up like Candyman, and I get really mad. And so they gave me a chance to really run with the ball in terms of working on a website. And it wasn't long before, actually, probably was long. I stand corrected. After a few years, I realized that the company wasn't going anywhere, and I decided to go on my own. And so that's when, way back in 2006, Dread Central was born, because I took the entire team that I worked with over at that place, and they all followed me, and we built a really solid website. It was my vision for Dread Central was really simple. Dread Central was original. Well, the Horror Channel was supposed to be like sort of like the Sci-Fi Channel, but for horror fans, right? And Dread Central was supposed to be like, which was our news area at the time. It was supposed to be like the Entertainment Tonight area, or the TV show. And that didn't happen. So, but being that we kind of owned Dread Central, we took it and we ran with it. And my vision for it was always, let's help the indie filmmaker. Let's give the indie filmmaker as much of a voice and as much spotlight as the studio filmmaker, because you never know when the next John Carpenter is going to come around, or the next Sam Raimi, or the next Damien Leone. You have to really be paying attention. And I ran Dread Central for 18 years, and it's still going on. I ended up leaving it because I just, there were some differences, and I at that point had felt that I had taken it about as far as I cared to, and everything was changing, and I wasn't really fond of the people who ended up buying Dread Central in the 18th year that it was around. I'm a lot of things. I'm not a yes guy. And if I see something I don't like, I'm going to say something. And they kind of wanted someone to go, yes, sir, and toe the corporate line. That's just not me. I don't give a shit who you are. you know,
If you're
so,
like me, you'll find that the older you get, the more you really don't give a shit too.
oh, dude, I buried my last fuck a long time ago. I don't care. And
Wait, we
but
were
one of
supposed to care at one point about things and people's opinions because I missed
no,
that memo
yeah,
growing up.
God bless you. It just didn't. It never reached me either. But one of the most amazing things about Dread Central and my tenure there, number one, when I was doing it, we had no parent company. So for 18 years of Dread Central, what you saw was, I guess, more or less my vision and what was I was in tune to. And one of the most incredible things about working at Dread Central, or creating Dread Central, is I met my two mentors, George Romero and Sid Haig, and I became fast friends with them both. And how fucking cool is that now, right? You want to
Yeah.
talk about expert guidance? That's like having Yoda on call. And they taught me so much about the industry, and more so, they taught me how to treat people and how to stand up for yourself and expect to be treated. And they taught me the value of not compromising. and staying true to who I am. So for that, I am eternally grateful to both George and Sid. You know, there's not a day that goes by I don't miss those cats. And I wish they were around to see what happened with Terrifier too, because I think they would have been really proud of me. Little story I don't think I've told that many times. When Terrifier was in the theater, just about every show I could think of, I bought them tickets. So I didn't care if you know, there
Yeah.
were two tickets that somebody wasn't going to go to. I wanted two tickets for George and Sid to sit there and laugh if they ever, if there is an afterlife and they were able to do it. I wanted to make sure that they had their front row seat. And you know, it's just been, everything happens for a reason. You know, when I left Red Central, George and Sid had just died, you know, a couple of years apart from each other, and I was fucking at my lowest point, man. You know, I mean, being Uncle Creepy was all that I knew how to do, and it was the only thing I'm good at. You know, I never went to college, I never got a degree, I never learned how to write. I taught myself pretty much everything that I've ever done. And one of the last things I did at Dread Central, which was the best decision of my life, is the company that bought it wanted to spin the title off into a DVD line for their genre titles. And I was taxed with finding movies for Dread Central to be Dread Central Presents. And dude, I watched so much stuff and it all sucked. You know, every single fucking, and just because you can make a movie doesn't mean you should. It's like giving people sauce, cheese, and dough and thinking they're gonna make you a good pizza. It's not gonna happen,
Yeah.
you know? But then out of nowhere, Damien called me and he's like, "Hey Steve, I got this little flick. I'm having a hard time. Can you take a look at it? Maybe I can get a quote." And he sent over Terrifier, and I watched it, and I watched it again, and I watched it again, and I called Damien and I said, "Dude, what are you doing with this? What is the deal with this movie?" And he told me, "Well, we're not doing anything with it right now." And I told him, "Good, don't, because this is the movie I want to kick off Dread Central Presents." And again, we decided that that would be a great idea. And Dread Central, the people who were running it at the time, weren't fond of the movie. But I was like, "No, you don't understand. This is it." And they proceeded to make my life a living hell over the decision. You know, everything from, "Oh, the world's already got a killer clown movie." It was in theaters. And
What? I'm sorry, but it sounds like the people from that place. I'm not even going to say their name. That way they don't show up in my place. You know, no, that's it. They
well,
oh, wow.
it's a part of the story and it's a part of the charm. And it got so bad to the point where in one of the meetings I stood up and I said, "Listen, if this movie doesn't hit like I think it's going to hit, you can have my part of the company. I will leave." And I put everything on the line that I had at that moment for that movie. And it came out, and it was not only one of their Dread Central Presents bestsellers, but it was their bestseller, period. And it continues to do well for them. And then I said, "Well, fuck you, I'm done." that was the note I chose to go out on. And you know, the original Terrifier is very much my swan song from Dread Central. And if you're going to go out on any note, I couldn't think of a better one than that. And so when the time came to start talking about part two, I told Damien, I go, "Dude, I have to be involved. Not because, you know, for any other reason other than this movie's in my DNA, you know? This is something I need to be a part of not even on a business level, but on a personal level, just because, you know, it was, I believed in it that much, and I believed in him, and I believe in the whole team so very much." And brought me on to Terrifier 2. And that came again at like literally one of the lowest points in my life. And it just gave me everything I needed to push forward. And then people ended up liking it. So thank you for the vindication. Appreciate that, you know.
Yeah.
And it was it was a very humble. It continues to be a very humbling experience, you know, because honestly, after 18 years of doing Dread Central and being Uncle Creepy and everybody knowing who I was and having such a prominent role within the genre and having such visibility and presence, when that was gone, I didn't think anybody was ever going to give a shit what I had to say again. And I really thought I was done. And I've never been happier to be wrong. You know, it was I wasn't done. If anything, I realized that I had more to do. You know, I had a lot more to do because, you know, Sid and George, they gave me this ridiculous amount of wisdom. And I take that very seriously. And being able to mentor younger filmmakers is just the most gratifying thing in the world. And that's what I'm doing now. So it's been great, man. It's there's so much about this that has just been so ridiculously humbling. And I cannot stress enough how grateful I am to everyone who's ever supported me in any way or said a good thing about something I worked on, or just simple, just the people talking about Terrifier to this day. It's just,
Oh,
it's,
I think it's going to become a part of the
amazing.
American lexicon, much like Michael Myers has and Jason. I mean, seriously, I think
Well,
that art's going to live on for a long time.
thank you
You
for
know,
saying that. But you know something? We're also very cognizant of the fact that we can't say that, you know? I mean, that's where a lot of, I think, younger filmmakers, they run into trouble
right?
because everyone wants to say, I have the next big thing, or I have the next horror icon, or I have this and I have that. But in reality, you don't have jack shit and you
Yeah.
can't make that happen. It's the fans who make that happen.
Well,
It's
yeah,
the fans who have to embrace that. They're the ones that decide what the next big thing is, who the next icon is, what the next midnight movie is. You can't go into a project trying to make that. The only thing
right.
you need to do, the biggest part of your job, is go into a project and make the best fucking movie you can without worrying about
Yep.
anything else. And that's what we did. And for every person that praises Terrifier or calls art an icon or say he belongs in the upper echelon, thank you. But that is for you guys to say, not us.
Yeah.
I think looking at it, it's sort of like Paul, you're right. Like, you know, it's sort of like, as someone who consumes a lot of horror, just loves horror. Like, I love horror. Terrifier, it checks these boxes, and I can't mentally like explain why it checks these boxes for like great horror. I mean, I could if I sat down and really thought about it, but it was just like, this is just fantastic. And I think so yeah, for us to say, like, as fans of horror, like, this is one of the ones. Like, if someone was like, hey, give me like, you know, a list of great horror movies, it would definitely be on there.
Thank you so much. You know, I think I think it was a bunch of different things. I think one, we got massively lucky. Two, we did make what we thought and what we feel to be a legitimately good movie. And three, I think what really helped us is, let's face it, man, the last few years have sucked. You know, we've all been through the ringer emotionally, physically. You know, we're locked in our house. There's a fucking plague. You know, there's every. I mean, 2020, man. If dinosaurs were to land in UFOs on my front lawn, I wouldn't even have been surprised at that point. Like, of course they are. But I think everybody, we've just been so beaten down by everything that's going on in the world and all this negativity and everyone who tries to preach to us about and being just disingenuous about what they're preaching to, preaching because it's a fad instead of what they actually believe. I think as people, we could see through all that bullshit, you know? And I think that Terrifier 2 came out at a point where everyone was just so beaten down and so disheartened. And here comes a movie that really doesn't have a message. You know, the message is the lights are going to go out in the theater, have a good fucking time.
Yeah.
And I think it enabled people just to shut off their brains and stop thinking for a little while. and just have a good time. And that's all this movie was ever meant to give people, you know? And
And
we,
I'm drawing a blank on his name, David, the guy who plays Art,
David Howard Thornton.
David Howard Gordon, who's not on
Thornton.
social media from what I can tell. Yeah.
No,
so.
he's on Facebook and Instagram. He's not on Twitter.
But I mean, his portrayal of Art is just so fun to watch for me anyway. It was because it looked like he was genuinely having fun. And like I said, that first scene where he's just kind of doing his thing and he just casually walks out of the room and they wide pan to the guy with the mop handle in his head. That set the tone for me. I went, okay, this guy's cool, you know?
Well,
And
I
I also,
think
oh, go ahead.
one of the main things Damien has done with Art the Clown and creating him is he's made Art very relatable.
Yeah.
You see Art do things that you've never seen another killer do, you know? He'll go into your house and have a glass of water. He does his laundry because his fucking clothes are bloodstained. You know, it all helps to humanize him in a really ironic way because he's actually like the ultimate evil too, you know?
Well, I was going to mention that
Mm.
too. What I really liked, that sorry to interrupt you. What I
No,
really
no
liked
worries.
otherwise was, yeah, he was killing you and stuff, and he was having a good time doing it. But man, if you hurt Art, you could tell on his face he got pissed. I
Yeah.
mean, at one point he gets shot in the foot or something, and you could just tell that switch was like, oh, now I'm mad.
He's
now I'm just gonna
expressive.
make it. Yeah.
He's expressive. And another
Yeah.
thing that sets him apart from like the Jasons and the Michaels, and I'm not saying he's by any
Right.
stretch of the imagination, am I saying he's better or worse than either of them? But I think what is different about an Art the Clown kill as opposed to like a Jason Voorhees or a Michael Myers or even sort of like a Freddy Krueger kill is Art is very deliberate. You
Yeah.
know, he don't just kill and move along. He plays with his food for a good long time.
Yep.
And you know, Jason Voorhees will kill and he'll just move on. Michael Myers will kill and he'll just move on. Freddy, to a certain extent, after Freddy did is oh, he totally played with his food as well. But I think Art takes that playing with your food thing to a whole different level. I mean, every
Yep.
time you think he's done, he does something else that's
Mm.
even more outlandish, like the scene in the bedroom with the bleach and the salt. Nobody saw that coming, you know?
Yeah.
And then she's still alive, and you know, the corpse says something. It's just you never know how far an Art the Clown kill is gonna go. We know how far. Damien definitely has a line he won't cross. But I think that Damien and David together, they've helped to create a character that's very unique. And I think in this world where we're inundated with superhero movie after superhero movie after fucking this after that, to have something that feels fresh while still being very familiar, I think that's very unique. And I think collectively that's what he and David have created.
I think it's the it's the real quick. It's the personality that gets me. He has a personality,
Yes,
much like Freddy Krueger. He's one of the few killers like that that has a personality outside of
absolutely.
kill, kill, kill. You know.
Absolutely.
I have to say that because of Art the Clown is the reason I watched All Hallows Eve, actually. It's really funny you mentioned him making an impression on the fans and things, because it's actually due to one of his fans that I watched it in the first place, because I hadn't heard of All Hallows Eve
Mhm.
when it first came out. I don't keep up with social media and things. I'm just not good with that. So a friend of mine who's also really into horror movies that actually watched it, and I believe it was shortly before Terrifier 1 was coming out. And my friend came to me and said, "You have to watch this movie. If nothing else, you have to watch the clown." And I was like, "A clown, really? Again? We're going
Mhm.
here? Like, we just had the creepy clown stalking
Mhm.
people in the woods and stuff. Like, I hope it's not that sort of thing."
Mhm.
And when
Mhm.
I watched it, I was genuinely surprised and impressed. And my friend said, "Oh, well, they're going to be coming out with a movie with just this character because I guess a lot of fans were obsessed with him." And I'm like, "Okay, I can see that. Well, we'll see how the movie does, and we'll see how that goes."
Mhm.
And I've been genuinely impressed with where you guys have taken the character, because it's not, you haven't turned him into another Jason per se, or another Freddy where he dies and constantly comes back from that death. It's nice to see a more human-ish character, if I could say it that way. Like, he's more human. Like, the guy gets hurt, like Paul was saying, he gets hurt. You can tell he's upset about getting hurt. I mean, who wouldn't be, regardless of what you're doing? I don't care if I'm trying to kill you. If you hit me in the face with a shovel, I'm going to be pretty pissed. Like, what's
Well,
that about? I'm trying to stab you. You hit me in the face with a shovel. Why are we going for the face? I'm trying to hit your stomach and you're going for the face. Like, not the good, man. Go for something else. Gotta
yeah,
have an open casket.
there is definitely a humanity to Art that is very prevalent in his character, but he's also a demon.
Yeah.
He's very much a demon. And we make that very clear that he is a supernatural character. There is no fucking doubt about that whatsoever. We revealed that at the end of the original Terrifier when he sat up on the morgue attendant's table. But man, did we fuck up that morgue attendant in part 2, huh?
Yeah.
And you know what's really cool about Terrifier 2, and I've seen it, I don't even know how many times already, but you can't really just watch it once because there's so much shit that happens in that movie that you just completely fucking forget about, And so it's one of those movies that you almost watch multiple times to remind yourself of all the cool shit that's actually in it, Like I could guarantee you after seeing the bedroom kill, nobody remembered the fucking morgue attendant kill, And the morgue attendant kill is the type of kill that would have been a showcase kill at the end of a slasher movie,
Yeah.
And there's just so much, and that's what Damien is best at. He's good at constantly upping the ante while making sure that we never betray the character. Like, you're never going to hear Art talk. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Which is, speaking of the morgue attendant kill, that is another one of my favorite parts, where at the beginning when he sits up and he's kind of assessing himself where he had damage, and you see him reach up and push his brain back into his skull. I'm like, okay.
As one does,
Yeah.
Put yourself back together, of course. I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta get funeral ready, like I said. Get not the face. Anywhere but the face.
Although Sienna left him pretty much not funeral ready. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sienna beat the shit out of him, which is one of the greatest things ever. I love the final fight with Sienna. Sienna, I think, in our opinion, and especially my personal opinion, I think Sienna is every bit as strong of a character as Art is. The bond that she has with Jonathan, there is like a real sisterly vibe to it. You buy their relationship, and that's one of the things Damien used the extended runtime for, was to really kind of get into these characters, you know who they are, and give them some real story to sink their teeth into. So when they do die, there are stakes, and you feel bad. When someone is a character in a movie you like, or in a book that you like, or comic, or fucking anything, you should feel something when they die, And I think with Terrifier 2, Damien did a lot of character building and a lot of world building, and I think that I think that's just that's really the reason for the 2.5 hour runtime. It's a lot of character work, but it never felt like it was going on too long. A lot of people say the movie doesn't feel like 2.5 hours, and that's like the best compliment ever.
I'll tell you what, though, when he started like licking Jonathan's hand like he was going to eat him, I felt something. It was queasiness. It was like, ew.
Speaking of queasy, that was another like really surprise part about this whole thing for us, was when the reports came out that people were puking and passing out in theaters. Everybody's like, oh, that's great marketing. We didn't fucking think of that. We weren't smart enough to think of that, So,
wait, so that wasn't just marketing? You were actually getting reports of people were puking in the theaters? I thought
they
it was
were.
just...
No, they actually were.
Wow.
And we tracked down just about everyone who passed out and everyone who got sick, and we sent them a care package.
Oh, nice.
We did. I mean, because it was easy to find them on social media because they're posting.
Yeah.
Especially that one person who he took a picture of his friend with the fucking ambulance attendants around him.
Oh, that is amazing.
And
That's
then
great.
people were sending me pictures of vomit. I'm like, oh yeah, thanks.
Wow.
You know,
Can live
There-
without the picture of that per
there's
se. Maybe them
actually-
doing it might be funny, but the actual vomit itself.
well,
ugh.
my favorite vomit story, yes, I have one, is there was this one podcast called The Box Office Boys. And they had gone to the movies and hoping that somebody was going to get sick, but they didn't realistically think anybody was going to get sick. And it wasn't long into the movie where someone got sick. And then after the movie, these two podcasters, they went into like full on Blair Witch investigation mode where they're taking pictures and they're interviewing people. And the funniest part about it to me was like this one guy got sick in the middle of this row of people, and he got up and left. He puked on the floor, and nobody else left. They stayed for the rest of the movie.
Oh, good.
And I think that's
God.
amazing. You know, that is fucking.
That is
you're a-
serious
you're a
dedication,
fucking
my
rock
friend.
star, man. You stood there. I know if someone puked next to me, I'm tipping the fuck out the door. You know. So it's just, man, just so many amazing things have happened as a result of this movie and just surrounding this movie. And, you know, again, it's something that, like, when it comes to 3, I don't know if we'll be able to top it. You know, I don't know if 3 will be the you know, the phenomenon that 2 was. I mean, we'd like to think it would be, but ultimately that's up to you guys as well.
Yep. Okay, so I have a question, and you can answer this or not. Are you a part of 3? Are you?
Yes. Yes. I hope to be working with them on in a lot closer fashion on part 3. I when part 2 was filming, I was still living in California, so a lot of things I was doing was kind of whatever I could from that far away, you know. And now that I'm back and I'm local, and part of the reason I moved back was to be closer to them, because this is obviously where a good part of my future lies, you know, and I have to be. And the one thing about the Terrifier crew, if you've ever seen us at conventions, it's so clear that we fucking love each other. You know, it's just such a family thing with us, and we genuinely enjoy each other's company, and we will.
Yeah.
There's nothing I wouldn't do for anyone on the team, and vice versa.
So I keep telling you on Twitter, and I'm going to tell you here for everybody to hear. You need to go to Niagara Falls Comic Con because I know they're going to be there, and if you're there, I'm going to be there. We'll party. I'll buy you a drink. Yeah.
It's a really good time. I mean, if you get a chance to take a picture with David in character, do it. One of the coolest things about seeing how crazy big this thing has gotten is when David and Damien do in character photo ops. So Art will get in full makeup, just the professional makeup like you'd see in the movie.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting about that is David Howard Thornton is the nicest guy in the world. You know, he's like literally the living embodiment of Roger Rabbit, right? He is just so sweet and so animated and bubbly and funny. And the second that makeup goes on, the second his teeth go in and that little hat goes on his head, he's a different person. He walks differently. He moves differently. He doesn't make a sound. And, you know, I've had the opportunity to just sit in on the photo ops, watching the fans get their pictures taken with them. And he treats everyone so differently. Like, you never know what he's going to do. And he makes sure everyone has just everyone leaves with a smile on their face. And that is just the most heartwarming thing to me, to see how happy, you know, people get to take a picture with him. And he really stays in character without the murder. You know, no one's dying. But other than killing, when you take a picture with him when he's dressed up like that, you're taking a picture with Art the Clown. There's no question, you know.
So I actually have a question for you that has pertained to that. What's your favorite kill that Art's done so far?
Oh.
Wow, there's so many. Well, listen, the kill in the first one that everyone talks about when the cooter to the head, that's the bisection is really hard to top, but I think we did it with Terrifier 2. An easy answer would be that, or obviously the bedroom scene with the salt and the bleach, but my personal favorite kill of the movie is actually Brooke. And when he throws the acid in her face and it starts bubbling, and then he caves in her chest with that club, and it's just really, it's just a really great round of special effects. I love Brooke's kill. Brooke's kill is my favorite in the franchise so far.
Nice.
What's your
We've
favorite
talked about it
kill?
here before, but one thing I like about what Damien does and you guys do is you use all practical effects,
Mhm.
which is, we've talked about it on here before with other is
Yep.
I love the practical effects. I prefer it so much to
There's
digital.
no other way to do it, when
Yeah.
and that has become the hallmark of this now franchise. You're never going to see a CG kill in a Terrifier. We'll use CG. There are moments in Terrifier 2 that are augmented, but it was only ever to hide a blood tube or, just so you don't see like the mechanical parts of the effects, you paint them out, but the whole entire effect is there. In terms of the CG, guy named Josh Petrino did it. And unfortunately for Josh, if you didn't notice his work, that's the biggest compliment you can give him.
Yeah. And I've seen Damien when Terrifier 2 was just releasing, Damien was already saying online he's already working on the effects for the next movie.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, there's here's the thing with the next movie and maybe the movie after that. It's already a decision that we're not going to run this into the ground. You're not going to see Art go to Hawaii, although we'd like to.
You're not gonna see. We're not gonna see Terrifier 10 Art in space.
You're not going to
No,
see Art
no.
go to space. We're going to go to fucking Hawaii before space, first of all. But you're not going to see any of that. When Damien has a very finite story in his head, and when he's told his entire story, that's when we're going to stop making them. Unless there's a really good reason, because we're not doing it for money. We're
Yeah.
doing it to make good movies, and I know that sounds so cliche, but it's the truth, man. We'd rather make 3 or 4 really good movies than 10 entries with 3 or 4 good entries. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And
Because look what happened to Halloween when it got out of control. All of a sudden,
well, depends on which. Well, I like Halloween because it's like a choose your own adventure tale.
Well, that's true.
It's like if you no matter what you're in the mood for, there's a Halloween movie for that. So,
That's true. That's true. I agree with that one. It's got everything.
I'm in the mood for the Thorn storyline. Okay. I'm in the mood for satanic witchy masks. Okay.
Okay.
I'm in the mood to see Laurie Strode not fight Michael Myers a whole movie and then have a 3-minute kitchen fight in your finale. Okay.
Okay.
Oh man.
No shade there.
So what are aspects of like horror that first drew you to actually enjoying it?
I've told the story 100 times. Bear with me if you've heard it. If you're listening and you've heard it, I'll try to give you the condensed version. A lot of people have their defining moment in their 30s or 40s. I was like 4 years old. When I was a little kid in the 70s, fuck, I'm old. When I was a little kid in the 70s, we had this old black and white console television set in our living room, which essentially was like the type of TV that if it ever broke, you just put another TV on top of it and fuck it, now it's furniture, right? And I used to know, even at a young age, that all the good shit was on TV late at night. So as far back as I could remember, I was always somebody that would stay up to the wee hours of the morning. Surprise. And I used to wait for my parents to go to sleep, and I would as soon as I heard them start snoring, my ass was in the fucking living room, even at like 3 years old, because I knew there was some fucking weird shit on in the middle of the night. And one night I turned on the TV. It was about 2 a.m. and I saw this fucking newscast about the dead coming back to life.
Oh
We
no.
needed to get to rescue stations. So I'm like, holy shit, right? So here I am. I'm a fucking hero, man. I'm like little Bruce Campbell. I run into my parents' bedroom. It's like 2:30, and I wake them up and I'm telling them. I remember saying it, guys. I swear to God, I do. I remember saying, the dead are coming and we got to get to rescue stations. And my parents were like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I'm like,
World
no.
of worlds for you.
I'm like, no, we gotta go. I'll prove it to you. And I grabbed my mom and I pulled her out of bed, and my dad came along super fucking pissed.
Yeah.
And my dad didn't like me to begin with, but now he's like, this mother.
Oh God.
So,
Wow.
I brought them into the living room and I'm like, look. And of course, what was on was Night of the Living Dead. And I got my first ass whipping that night.
Yeah.
3 years old.
Oh.
First
So
time
this is
my-
your that was
first
your War of the
time-
Worlds moment. That was your War of the Worlds moment.
It was not only that, it was the first time my lily white ass felt pain. Okay. And I'm laying
Wow.
in bed after my dad is done spanking the living shit out of me. And I was laying there in bed and I was like, wow, I was terrified, but I was totally safe at the same time. That's fucking cool, right? So it was that right there that's when Uncle Creepy was born, you know. And it's just that kind of thing that I've just been chasing my whole life. And
Yeah.
decades later, after that happened, I got to tell George that story, you know. And how cool is that?
Yeah.
And I think that particular story really endeared me to him. And so everything happened for a reason. And you know, having George Romero as a friend and a mentor, that's like Bigfoot deeming you cool enough to know he exists, right?
Yeah.
And
That's
I
awesome.
learned so much from him. And again, he and Sid were the biggest inspirations of my life, and they taught me everything they possibly could have. I don't exist without either of them. You know, they are the two most important people in my life, and they always will be, whether they're here or not, you know.
You know, you're the second kid from the 70s. You're about the same age as Harrison Smith, by the way, almost exactly, because I'm about 4
Yeah,
or
but
5
I'm
years
so
older.
much better looking. I mean, Harrison, he tries to do the bald thing, but look at this.
Yeah.
Come on. All right.
but
I love you, Harrison. I'm only joking, you fuck.
But all three of us have one thing in common. We were all those kids that would stay up late at night, probably on the weekends especially, and watch the old movies all night long.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, that was another thing that was kind of cool about Terrifier too. When I was a little kid, like around 12, 13, whatever, you could hear my dog's tippy taps walking through the house. You hear that shit? I have a golden retriever. He's 70 pounds. When he walks, his nails make noise.
Yeah.
So when I was about 13 or 14, I had my group of friends. We'd hang out in the schoolyard and we'd talk about all these fucking horrendous movies we saw, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Zombie and all these movies that felt dangerous to us, right? And after when I got older, I felt like we didn't have that anymore. Like there wasn't really anything making people have that experience. And then when Terrifier 2 hit, everybody, especially the younger fans, were having those conversations. And that fucking warmed my heart, man. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, they're talking about the fucking salt and the bleach. This is awesome, you know? So to be involved in something that kind of brought that back, that brought my life in a lot of ways full circle, it was an amazing feeling.
Yep. I had more recently, we were adults, but we were all sitting at a restaurant, Carl's Jr. as a matter of fact, and all talking about the goriest, bloodiest things we'd seen in movies. We actually cleared out the restaurant. We actually
I would fucking love for there to be a Carl's Jr. or Hardee's near me. That's the only thing I miss from the West Coast, other than the weather.
Yep.
Damn it, I missed their spicy chicken sandwich. Fuck.
Well, I would bring one to Niagara, but it may not hold out the trip. You know, it's a
Well, I'm not. I probably won't be at the Niagara show, so don't worry. about
bummer. Eh. Well, if I'm ever in New York, I'll let you know. I got other friends up there too.
it. Okay,
So-
cool, awesome.
I just I wanted to say that when I was at MegaCon this past week, I actually saw an Art the Clown cosplay, and it just blew my mind because I'm like, wow, Paul's been talking about the Terrifier too, and here's Art the Clown. But you know what? He moved so fast I couldn't keep up with him. He was already in the Star Wars section. He just took off to the dark side.
Big surprise there. You know what? That is so flattering to all of us. You know, when we see people dressed up like Art, or the little pale girl, or Sienna is getting a lot of cosplay love lately.
Oh yeah, those angel wing costumes, man.
It's
yeah,
it's
yeah.
so surreal, man. You know, like we never ever thought. We hoped, you know, that something like that would happen, but to see it come to fruition, like one of the funniest, well, one of the first, I should say, things about the original Terrifier was after the movie had come out on DVD, and I think it just hit Netflix at that time. I was in a convention in Texas, and I'm walking around, and there's fucking Art the Clown shit everywhere, you know? And this is like the first movie, like maybe 4 weeks after it was out or whatever. And I grabbed my phone and I called Damien. I'm like, dude, do we have merch? And he just started laughing. He's like, fuck no, we don't. And I go, and that's when we realized that maybe we had something. So it was like all of a sudden there was this giant snowball, man. There was people dressing like him, people making their own products. There were murals of Art the Clown. There are still murals of Art the Clown up all over the world. And we have every picture of every tattoo and every mural. It's just the most humbling thing. You guys have given us a ride we're never going to forget. You know, you've touched our lives way more than we could have ever have hoped to touch yours. And that's why you'll see, if you see us at a convention, we will not leave until every person gets a picture and every person gets a signature. And when we talk to them, we take as much time with every person as possible, you know. And later at night when we're at the bar, we're very accessible. We'll take even more pictures then. And we'll drink a lot. And you know, it's like a fucking party, man.
Yeah.
We just had our
I really am hoping to get to speak to them a little bit, and
I'm
I
sure
would
you
really
will.
like to bring them onto a show like this as well. But I don't know if they do this kind of thing.
Damien
Yeah.
is super fucking busy. Plus,
Yeah, I
not
figured
letting,
Damien
we're
would
not
be.
letting Damien see the light of day until 3 is written.
But I mean,
And
even like Elliot, you know, little
I
punk
wouldn't be
people.
surprised. Reach out to
You know.
him. I wouldn't be surprised.
Actually, you know, I'm gonna say it here. I did reach out to him through his webpage, and I never heard anything back. But I don't know if that's because they didn't see it. So, but you
That
know,
little motherfucker, that little
Yeah.
motherfucker is now a rock star, a bona fide fucking rock star.
yeah, I know.
And I'm like, holy shit, we're all going to be working for him one day. You
Yeah,
know?
he's another
And-
one that he had a song he dropped called "I Am Not Okay,"
Yeah.
and it happened to drop on. No, it happened to drop on a day where I was having a very low day, and I was like,
Mhm.
that song reached out to me when I heard it. I was like, okay, that's a really, you know,
Well, if he thinks he didn't have a good, he is not okay now. Wait till part 3. That little motherfucker's gonna suck.
yeah, I remember that's been one. Yeah, one of the things is he couldn't make it through part 3, you know, because he posted something about being the final boy. I said, oh yeah, yeah,
As always with every Terrifier movie,
yeah. You never know.
everyone's on the menu.
Yep.
You know, it doesn't matter who you are. I think if Terrifier 2 taught anyone anything, is that be nice to Art. You know,
yeah.
he's knocking on your door. Give him the fucking candy, dude. Don't piss
Yeah.
him off. Don't tell him to go away. Just he plays nice, you know. Just don't piss him off. So
That's right.
we'll see. There we have a lot of surprises for people. I think
I
that,
can't wait to see it.
I think that we've come up with something. I mean, the key is always trying to keep it fresh so it doesn't feel stale or boring. And I think we have enough ideas to do just that. In terms of the kills, nothing Damien Leone comes up with anymore surprises me.
I'm sorry.
He is
I love
so
his movies, but I
twisted.
wouldn't want to spend any time in that man's head.
Nicest guy in the world. Nicest guy in the world. You know what's funny? First of all, I'm really thankful to see to have two women on this podcast with us. A lot of times people call, the Terrifier movies misogynistic, and they're not meant to be misogynistic at all. I mean, it's just cool kills,
Yeah.
And the first one, especially because of that one kill, a lot of people called it misogynistic. And Damien is raised by his mom. He has a little sister, so maybe that's why he's mad at them. So but it was never a case of we deliberately have to kill women. It's never like that. And to see so many women come up to us who love this movie, it makes us feel better because we're like, wow, are we bad people or what the fuck? But so the second one, we not only have a female heroine, but she beats the living shit out of them.
Yeah. Yes.
So I mean, come on, man. What more do we have to do? She fucking took his flail and ripped the skin off his face, for God's sake. So
I think a lot
there's
of
just so much coolness coming. You have no idea.
with the misogyny thing, I think it's a lot of people. Sometimes I think people watch a movie, but they don't necessarily like when you're a lover of a certain genre. You understand the nuances. You understand like the different ways people create things. You understand that people are just going to get killed. And when you have that love of like especially horror, you don't approach it the same way as someone who might just be like, I casually enjoy horror movies. And I think that's where it might come from.
We chopped a dick off, dude. Straight up chop the dick off.
I personally always feel like horror is more geared towards women in general, in my opinion, where I feel like comedy and romantic comedies in particular and romance movies, I feel are more misogynistic towards women than any horror movie I've ever seen. And I've watched a lot of shit over the years. And there's been times where I've cringed at horror movies, but not the way most people would think. I mean, I personally find romance movies more insulting towards me as a woman because it's usually the same story of guy makes this huge mistake, royally fucks up. He says he's sorry, and the woman's just like,
okay,
you know what? I love you. It's okay. I won't know you for a week. I'm gonna change my entire life for you, sir. Like, let's do this. Whereas with horror, you've got the exact opposite, where you usually have this weaker female character who, at some point during the movie, has this coming to Jesus moment, decides to flip the badass switch, and she's unstoppable after that.
And it's beautiful. I mean, look, Ellen Ripley, fucking Ginny from Friday the 13th Part 2.
Yeah, I mean, even
Laurie
I Spit on Your
Strode.
Grave is more feminist, I think, because while, don't get me wrong, the incident that pushes her to that point is excruciatingly brutal, her badassery makes it all worth it because
100%.
she's such an empowered person. By the end of the movie, she's not taking anybody's shit, Bill. You know?
No, 100%. And that's the way it should be. For us, it's all about characters, man. When you have a good character, it don't matter what they are or who they are. It matters how they are and where they draw their empowerment from and what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are. It's about drawing good characters. One of my favorite things about George, because we talked about fucking everything, and one of my favorite things about George is we talked about casting Dwayne Jones in 1968 as the lead of his movie, A Black Man. And, George looked at me and goes, Steve, I don't give a fuck about any of that stuff. I cast Dwayne because Dwayne was the best actor. And that's
I love
the way it
that
should
quote
be.
from him. Whenever anybody brought it up to him, he's like, I didn't pick him because he was black. I picked him because he was better at the role than anyone
That's
else that walked in.
exactly the world we should all live in.
Yeah, and I think he even said at one point, he's like, I wasn't trying to be political with it. I was just making a movie.
Right. But everybody wants to. Everybody looks back and tries to make it political. Look at what George did by doing. Like that's not why he did it. Don't put that in.
There's only two. Here's the main thing I've taken away from George and Sid, and we've spoken about this ad nauseum. There's only two types of people in this world. There are assholes and those who aren't assholes. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, Hispanic, Japanese, fucking whether you identify as a man, a woman. I don't care what your political affiliations are. I don't give a fuck if you want to fuck your toaster, as long as you're a good person and you treat the people around you good. Do whatever makes you happy, man. You know, it doesn't matter. Just don't be a dick. How weird is it that we went through this whole fucking misery of the last years, and like, you know, so many people who you would think would be like these best people would become exposed as these fucking leches. Like, what are you doing, you know?
Yeah.
And then there's a fucking guy named Uncle Creepy that gets away. I didn't do anything, you know?
Yeah.
It's because you treat people good. You treat them like you want to be treated, and you realize that regardless of sex, regardless of race, regardless of orientation of any kind, we're all just people, man.
Yep.
You know, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Oh,
And
just flashbacks.
we should love each other and help each other and raise each other up. If we spent a tenth of the amount of time helping each other as people do tearing each other down, the world would be so much more of a better place.
You know, I gotta say, movies and TV were always a big part of my life growing up because I am disabled. I have cerebral palsy, as though my handle on, you know, Twitter will tell you, cerebral palsy. You go, oh, okay, got it. You know, and so TV and movies were always my escape because I couldn't go out and play with the other kids. I couldn't do that. These last couple of years have made that much more obvious to me. Even me, who's kind of used to it, feels even more shut in. And I've gotten to the point now where I don't leave the house. And it's not because I don't want to, but just the thought of it.
If
Go
given
ahead.
the chance, I wouldn't leave the house.
Yeah. But it's
There.
it's like I can plan. Okay, I wanted to get my hair cut before I did this today, so I look somewhat human, you know. And I just can't bring myself to leave
Are
the
you
house.
insinuating here that any of us look human?
Hey, I got enough for you. I got enough for me. I got enough for, you know.
Dude, I will go on record right now saying I would blow a wino for your hair. I don't give a shit. Okay? Look at that miraculous, wondrous mane on top of your scalp.
Hey, you know, I'm gonna clip that quote, just that quote, and I'm gonna
Let me tell you something. There is no substitute. The hair blowing, I mean, the wind blowing through your scalp, not so good. Okay? I miss having hair. This isn't a style. This is a curse.
True story. True story. I have, you know, I let my hair grow long before I get a cut usually. One year I had a friend, a football coach I worked with. He was bald like you. One year I had them save all the clippings after they cut my hair, and I put it all in a big yellow envelope with a thing of super glue. And I said, you know, here's Paul Martin's a hair club for men. You're the first member, you know.
That's my one regret. I used to have hair down to my ass. And then I did. And then I started having this thing happen. And there's no coming back from that, dude. You know? So when I had my hair cut, I just had it cut. I should have had it collected and donated it. And that's always been I've always been pissed at that my hair didn't get to live a second life.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I have hair down to my ass actually, and my husband does as well. And we actually donate it a couple of times every few years. We
line up the people
hair.
that need fellatio for that hair. I will do it.
Well, you haven't seen her husband, Dreadpool's
He's
beard.
like a Wookiee.
His
He's like
beard goes probably down to his belly button. I had my beard cut a little bit because my wife wanted it cut, but mine started going there, and she's like, "You got to get it cut. You can't be like Dreadpool."
I can't do that, dude. I need this is as long as my beard could go with me being comfortable.
See, my husband's always had a long beard since we met, I should say, since he and I met, he's had it. And a lot of people have said, that's real nice of you to let him keep it. And I'm like, let him. He had it before we got together. I'm not gonna make him cut it off.
Yeah,
I married him with it. I had a kid with him looking like this. It's
my girl
fine.
Danny likes the beard, and that's why I let it grow. So, if I shave it now, she'll throw me out of the house. And
Same. I told my husband the same
windows.
thing. People are always asking him to shave, and I'm like, no, if he does, I want a divorce and he needs to get out of my house because I'm
Right.
not going to recognize the face without the hair. And it's not going to feel the same giving him the hug without. I'm much shorter than he is. I'm like a foot shorter than him. So when I
dude,
hug him, I get a face of beard.
I am vertically challenged as well.
Woohoo!
I,
Yay!
I am only 5'7", which
Oh,
guess
you and
is
I are about the
pretty
same height, give or take, though I'm sitting down all the time, but still.
high. First of all, you could still have a cup of shut the fuck up with your hair over there. Okay? So you just shut up.
There we go.
He ran over my foot at MegaCon last year. He went back.
You deserved it. You deserved
was
it.
am I running
yeah.
over your foot? I said,
I'm sure
Yes.
you did something, Carlo.
Well, in his
I'm not
defense,
feeling-
I kept telling him to run people over because I was holding on to him to keep up with the guys because we were all trying to walk in like a group, and you can't walk like directly next to each other. You got to kind of do a single file line walking through cons. So I'm holding on to my husband's hair and holding on to Paul's basket on his wheelchair. And people kept getting right in between him and I. And I'd look at the people and be like, just run them over. Run them the fuck over.
Oh, yeah.
They don't deserve to be standing here.
There
Run them
you go.
over.
Yeah.
There you
If
go.
you ever notice somebody on a scooter like me at a con, because I can't walk, at least not safely. So I'm on a scooter, but because I'm so low, people tend to ignore me. I'm not there. They walk in front of me. They, then if I dare to bump into them, it's my fault. It's like,
well, in case no one hasn't noticed, people suck.
Yes.
Yeah. So real quick, Carlo did put out for some reason, he put out a thing on Twitter for people to ask you questions. We did get a couple before we started that I've seen.
Sure.
So what was your favorite movie to work on and your favorite kill in a horror movie? Now, since Damien will probably see this, you should temper your answer. No, okay.
No, that's fair. My favorite movie to work on was Survival of the Dead.
That's cool. Yeah.
That was George's last movie, and he let me be the main zombie and I do the main kill in the movie. And that was the greatest moment of my life. You really want to talk about coming full circle from getting my ass beat by my dad at 3 years old for thinking the dead were coming back to life to being the happiest person in Canada at 4:30 in the morning while it's 35 below, tearing a body apart. When that scene was over, George ran over and he's like, "Are you okay, man?" And I just hugged his legs. I was on my knees and I was just like, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." And it's a moment I'll never forget. And it's something that nothing will ever be able to top that, I don't think, because George was my idol. I learned my values from watching Romero movies, and we had a very special relationship, and that's a moment of it that it meant, and it continues to mean everything to me. My favorite kill in the movie, pick anyone from John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh yes, I love those.
Nice.
Yeah.
The special effects in that movie they still amaze me. I still don't know how some of them were done, and I'm the dude worked on Terrifier, so
Yeah.
it's that movie to me has some of the best effects ever. I don't think they'll ever be topped, and any kill in that movie is magnificent in every way. So that movie always has my favorite kills. And if I had to pick something other than that, I will say a lot of the effects work in both Terrifier 2 and Terrifier 1 have some really top-notch kills.
Yeah.
So I put them up there with like the Rob Bottin's. I think Damien is amazing. I think he's only going to get better too, which is scary because he's scary fucking good now. So yeah, those are Yeah, favorite kills thing, favorite thing I've ever worked on was easily Survival of the Dead with George Romero.
Which is cool. Like you said, that's very special to not only get to know your idol, to work with your idol, but to actually be in his final movie. And,
Yeah.
you know,
Nothing like it. It'll
Yeah.
always be the greatest moment of my life, bar none. I mean, sorry, I know when we get married, that's a special moment, but fuck you.
she's standing over there with a frying pan going, what?
No,
What was
she's
that?
not.
Yeah.
She understands. That is always going to be like the pinnacle of everything to me. I could have died right after that and been totally okay, you know. And I'm still like that, dude. I'm very lucky to have lived out my bucket list,
Yeah.
and now I just had to refill it with some new goals. So, yeah, it's been an amazing time, man.
And then the other one was a comment. Please be the one that reboots the Nightmare on Elm Street series.
You never know.
Yeah.
Just imagine, if you will, what Damien could do with a Friday the 13th.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Well, I know. I was looking back to your IMDb. You did work on the Never Sleeps Again, the
I did.
the Elm
I have
Street
this,
Legacy. Yeah.
I have this habit of working on really long projects. Elm Street, Never Sleep Again, another great moment in my life, you know, to be able to have worked on what some people consider to be the best horror documentary ever made. Yeah, I got a resume, you know, but I am lucky to have worked on anything that I've worked on, and they're all important to me. You know, every one of them, every project I've ever worked on, from Dread Central to Terrifier 2, has given me something special.
Yep.
And
I just rewatched Allegoria last night.
Allegoria was a great movie.
It was, though. I will point out that I just got to point this out. I just think it's great. There's the sequence after she's holding a knife to her throat where she taps him on the chest and you hear, because his mic is right there. You know, and I just thought, okay, that's something they missed, but still, it's funny as hell. You know, it sounds like she's beating him with his blackjack. Yeah. Because I mentioned in another interview, I watched a horror movie on one of the Amazon horror movies. Apparently, they'll let you stream anything. Where every time
there.
And that just got recently added this week, I believe.
Yes.
So yeah, but yours wasn't in a case where every time they were in a room talking, you could hear the fire alarm chirping for the low battery thing. So every time they did a scene in that room, you'd hear that chirp every 30 seconds.
Hey,
Any
man.
other scene in the movie, you didn't hear that, but every time they cut to that room, you'd hear, like, that is really annoying.
Production value.
Yeah. So yeah, but I enjoyed Allegory. I thought it was pretty well done.
Thank you.
You know,
Spider is a great filmmaker. He couldn't be any different than his brother Rob. They have two vastly different styles. I love Spider's work. I working on Allegoria was a lot of fun, and yeah, he's a great dude, man. He truly is.
I admit I got to look up some of this other stuff that you've done that I've never heard. The 7 Foot Etheria. Never, you know, some.
You know what's funny about fucking IMDb is there's shit on there I haven't worked on that I'm credited for, and I'm like, what the fuck is Eyes of the Panther? I didn't do anything on Eyes of the Panther. And you know, sometimes I go to IMDb to find out what I am working on, because you never know.
So
what am I doing lately?
Were you actually one of the hunters in Hatchet 2?
Yes, Adam and I are very good friends. I helped Adam start the Hatchet Army. He'll credit that and say it was my idea. I will say it was both of our ideas, and I just happened to have been lucky enough for him to let me run with it. So yeah, I did. I have a cameo in Hatchet. I'm a little bit pissed about it because they mentioned Victor Crowley, and like the pussy I am, I get up and leave because like, I don't want, fuck that. I'm like, you know, Adam, man, I could have fucking went in there and got killed, dude. You didn't have to let me leave like a complete pussy, okay? I'm still waiting for my Hatchet redemption, Adam, you fuck.
It's another series of movies I just managed to stumble into, and I was like, hey, these are actually pretty interesting.
The Hatchet movies are a lot of fun.
And I do have to say, the fact that the main character turns into Daniel Harris is
Oh, you didn't.
hysterical to me because I love Danielle Harris, but the fact that the girl
She
who
shrinks
played
a foot.
yeah, that cracks me up every time I see it. I'm like, this is amazing.
Well, if you could believe that a ghost is living in the swamp and kills people with a wireless belt sander, she could change fucking character. Sorry.
Oh, it's beautifully
Mhm.
done. I love the fact that they're just like, you know what, we're gonna keep it up from where the last one ended, and who cares if she's a foot shorter than the last one? It's fine.
Plus, the
keep
dynamic
going.
between her and Kane is great. You look at Kane, who's this oversized fucking monster, and then Danielle, who's this little tiny kind of, Danielle's great. I love her to death.
Oh, so much fun. So, anybody else have any questions for Steve before we close this off?
Hmm.
Well, I have a two-part thing. One is a question.
You can
one
only
is
do one part. Only one part for you, Carlo.
Oh man.
I don't know
Stop
why your
being
camera's
greedy.
off,
You know
Carlo.
what?
By the way, your name is gonna be backwards on the video of this. By the way, Carlo, because
That's
of the way it
that's
shows
all
up.
right. They can
He'll
call me
be-
He'll be
Olark.
Olrak.
Loco.
Yeah,
Olrak.
Olark. Yeah,
Here we go. Olrak. Okay.
Olark.
No,
Yeah,
go
so-
ahead. What do you need?
So number one, I would just want to say thank you for making a scary clown movie because it is the nightmare of my mother-in-law, and I have an excuse to watch it in the living room. And
Oh, you are awful.
You are welcome, sir.
That's amazing.
I'm proud to be a part of that.
The second part is actually a question here. So, there's a lot of terms in movie production. There's producer, there's executive producer, executive director. So, what is exactly like your part in the whole production and what does it entail?
It depends on what type of producer you are. Line producers usually are the ones that make the budget, but I suck at math, so it wasn't me. Especially on the Hatchet movies, not the Hatchet movies, the Terrifier movies. Again, there were 9 of us, so it was whatever needed to be done, And the reason why I'm the executive producer of Terrifier 2 because I helped negotiate the distribution deal. And that's really what I did mainly as an executive producer was found distribution, made sure it was what we wanted, and did that. But to me, I don't care what I'm called, what I'm known for, what people want to refer to me as. To me, I'm just happy being the guy that helped people discover something cool. And that's all I ever want to be.
Well, that is definitely a fantastic job you did because distribution can be a difficult task for a lot of people. You got to be on the phone, you got to be making deals, you got to be talking to people, you got to be out there.
Thank you for the haunted memories, Orlac, or whatever.
Yes. Yes. So you dealt with a lot of yeses, dealt with a lot of no's, dealt with a lot of hey, let's compromise on this possibly, so but you're the guy at the end of the day that helped get it out there. And that is why this panel's here today to talk to you because they love this movie.
Thank you.
I love Art because he's a clown.
And we all love you guys right back. Thank you so much.
Oh, and real quick, 2 things actually. One, do you have anything else coming up that we should know about? Keep an eye out for.
I have 100 things coming up now. It's interesting, you go from nobody wanting to take your calls, to finding success, and now everybody is calling you. I have a long fucking memory, and I'm only going to be working with the people whom I like, the people whom are there for me, and the people who I believe in. And I'm lucky enough that a movie like Terrifier 2 is so successful that it gives me the ability to do that,
Yeah.
So I have several projects now. One is one of my absolute babies that it's paranormal themed because I'm a huge paranormal buff, and have an anthology cooking with Sebastian Bazille and Jed Shepard and David McInerney and Josh Stolberg and Blair Bathory and all those cats. That should be fun. I have another thing I'm working on with another producer. The problem is I can't say what any of this shit is. But Of
Well,
course,
I would say keep an eye on your IMDb, but apparently you're not the only one who edits it. So
No, well, you know what? IMDb, contrary to what a lot of people may assume, IMDb is like, it's like just normal people edit it,
yeah.
like Wikipedia. So they could say I work on fucking anything. And I'm like, sure. Eyes of the Panther. It's all me.
Well, you can ask Carlo. I mentioned, we were interviewing Steve Barton. They look you up while we're on, and they go, the guy died like 5 years ago. I'm like, no, different Steve Barton.
He had a wonderful singing voice, though.
Yes.
Paul, can you mimic that voice for me?
No.
Could you wait till I leave before you try and mimic that singing voice?
Wow. And then, of course, the question we ask all of our interviewees, and this is important, this will decide whether this interview gets aired or ever. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Wow. As a traditionalist, I would say no, but I have had it at a couple of places where it wasn't so bad.
Okay, we're going to take the no. That way I can show this interview because we spent a lot of time here today.
I'm just saying. I have this thing where I will broaden my horizons, and I will try anything once, and it wasn't horrendous. Sometimes it's really bad.
Yeah.
Sometimes if it's made right, meh. It's almost like having. Have you ever had Mexican food like al pastor?
Oh yeah,
shredded pork with pineapple. That's really good. So if it's made sort of like that with little bits of pineapple and bits of ham, it's acceptable. If it's, you don't put a pineapple ring on a fucking slice of pizza, I will stab you. You don't do that.
That's right.
It's just the way it is.
That's when you call Art over. Art, I got something for you, man.
Well, let's not forget one of his first kills took place in a pizzeria.
That's saying. Right. So there we go again. Thank you very much, and we will put all your links and stuff for all the different things you do. Let me also mention that you do some incredible work for WWE 2K23.
I don't do it for WWE. I do it
for the game. You've done it for the fans. You can look up Uncle Creepy in the game under the character or the fan created work, and he's got incredible work, including Art the Clown, including Victor Crowley, I believe, and like 6 others or 7 others.
Yeah, man, I try to. I'm a little kid, so
yeah,
that game lets me play with my action figures, right? So I make the characters whom I want to play with, and if someone's going to make Art the Clown, I want it to be done right. So I kind of have to be the one to do it because Damien and all of them, they don't play. So it's like it falls on me, and I'd rather get it done the right way where I'm proud of it and people could use it and not feel like that's not like a good representation of them. And I like making sure things are done correctly, So
the fact that you take the time to not only model them, but to make sure they have the movesets that best fit what they would do. I mean,
I take a long time to do that, but you know what? It relaxes me. It makes me forget, and that's how I unwind. So sometimes when things get a little heavy or there's just a million things going on, I like to indulge my artistic side and just fuck around and have fun,
I mean, you even made Reagan from The Exorcist, and even though I didn't know it at the time, she does spit up green spray. She
does. She does. I made sure of that.
So yeah, you've done some incredible work there for anybody who's watching or listening that plays WWE 2K23. Look him up, Uncle Creepy. Look up Uncle Creepy everywhere. He's everywhere, including on Xbox.
Yeah, you never know where I'm going to show up.
That's a scary thought. Who's at the door?
It really is.
Uncle Creepy. Oh, crap.
It really is. Guys, I before we leave, I really want to thank you for having me and say this was a lot of fun, and it was my pleasure. And thank you for spending so much time with me, and thank you for all the support that you've given the project and myself and everything. It doesn't go unnoticed, and it's very much appreciated.
Thank you, and I'm dead serious. If we ever get a chance to meet in person, I am buying the first round of drinks.
Oh, don't think I won't let you. I think
You know-
I think I set a record at the last Monster Mania for having the most alcohol that I did not buy. It was
There you go.
like every time I
That's
turned
awesome.
around, someone gave me another drink, and I'm like, this. I kept that going for like 8 hours, and I'm like, this is amazing. Okay,
That's awesome.
ain't too
Ah.
proud to have a drink bought for me. Nope.
Again, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, so
My
and
pleasure.
hopefully
Cheers.
as more of your stuff comes on, maybe we'll have you back in the future when you have this other stuff rolling out and we can
It would be my pleasure.
thank you.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Steve.
Thank you. This has been wonderful.
Awesome.